Sam Fender cancels tour to focus on his mental health. Sam Fender is an average to,
he's got a small-ish following in pop music.
But the point of this wasn't Sam Fender. The point of this is that this title, take out his name and insert literally any other musician, is becoming more and more commonplace every single day.
Yeah.
So it says he announced that he's canceling tour dates to focus on his mental health. And he gives this long explanation. I kind of want to read the first paragraph. So it says, "It seems completely hypocritical of me to advocate discussions on mental health and write songs about it if I don't take the time to work on my own mental health. I've neglected myself for over a year now and haven't dealt with the things that have deeply affected me. It's impossible to do this work on myself while on the road, and it's exhausting, feigning happiness and wellness for the sake of business. My friends and colleagues have been worried about me for a while, and it's not going to get better unless I take the time to do so."
I can't help but guess that part of what motivates someone to make a statement like this is the pressure for every public figure and every artist, musicians especially, actually, to be a public advocate or activist for mental health.
That's the thing now. It's a whole sector to care about mental health.
It's very interesting to me because I see the value in trying to prioritize your sanity.
Absolutely.
There is no shame in that game for sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like his explanation is pretty thoughtfully written. I like that he's putting it into perspective. Like, it seems completely hypocritical of me to advocate for this when I'm not doing it for myself. So I think this is different from self-care because it's much...
Oh, yeah.
I don't like the self-care trend. I'm
self-care
sure
is just
page.
narcissism.
Yeah, 100%.
Wearing a kinder...
Don't get the chat started on talking about self-care.
Oh, no, it's too late.
I know.
Damn
I know
it.
the line.
The chat will make us pay.
I mean, at least he seems to have quit the tour pretty late in. The issue I take with this is that so many people's jobs are involved.
True, yeah.
And you're putting a lot of people out of work.
You're literally like an employer at this point. Like,
as an employer of like thousands of people, if you're doing a world tour, even a national tour, people don't really have a concept of that. But if you cancel even a few shows, that implicates hundreds of people's jobs.
This does seem very entitled to me. That was the next thing I was going to say, because he doesn't seem to realize how much he's going to affect other people.
I mean, maybe not even entitled, but just like blissfully ignorant.
That's unforgivable.
Right?
Are you kidding? No, you don't want to. Don't want to be ignorant.
Also, we have hypothesized that artists come out with this mental health crisis explanation because they're contractually obligated otherwise, and they can only back out of finishing a tour with the excuse of a mental health break.
It's literally it's kind of like
it's very dystopian if you think about it.
It is kind of like, in a way, it's like you can't push back on it. Like, you can't say, well, why don't you just ignore your mental health? Like,
of course, no one's going to say that. You have to be a ghoul.
But that's what I'm saying. They're doing that on purpose because it would be ghoulish of you to be like, yeah, sure, your mental health is important, but so does the jobs of all these other people. So think of like somebody like a CEO, right? A CEO whose job is more nebulous, and like they just have to be a front-facing person, the person that represents this entire gazillion-dollar empire. They can't really take mental health days, not in the same sense. They can take days off, but they can't take time off for that purpose.
Sure,
your stock will drop.
In a large corporation, though, there are more people capable of being a CEO's so-called understudy,
but they couldn't give that excuse then.
Sam Fender, who is the sole
he's the person. There's no
act.
Else. Yeah,
like he is the only person who can be him and do what he does.
So if you're filming a movie and you're like, if you're Chris Hemsworth and you're going to film a new Thor movie, you're like, I don't think so. I think I'm going to just take some time off for my mental health. You can't do that.
I mean, what's crazy is if you're at a certain level in Hollywood, you can take as long of a break between performances as you would like, and actors still push beyond that limit, that human limit, continuously, because they say, the industry is so fast-paced that you simply cannot keep up if you don't take role after role after role.
And live music is also extremely draining. Hard. Even doing this show, which is just a show on YouTube.
Imagine jumping around, doing all sorts of stuff.
Doing it 5 days a week and putting yourself out there 5 days a week can be emotionally draining. So
I totally understand that. It's just like you know what you're capable of, and you did contractually agree to do this, and there are thousands of paying customers, and not only that, but thousands of people collaborating with you to make it possible, whose jobs are also on the line.
Yeah, so I think you're right. I think he's using this to get out of this. And I was thinking, like, how would I have handled this when I was working? Like, I worked insane hours before I worked with Timcast. I used to have literally 3 different jobs, and I was going to school. So I'd go from one job to the next job, my overnight job, then I'd go to school the next day, and then back to overnight job, and then to second job. It was crazy. And I was thinking about it. I was like, how would I have dealt with this kind of mental health strain like he's talking about? Because I know touring live is challenging. I know being in front of a bunch of people is hard. It's emotionally draining or whatever. I used to eat, sleep, and breathe in my car all the time. And I was like, how would I have handled this mental health pressure? Would I have done what Sam is doing? And the answer is, of course, absolutely not. I would have sucked it up until my next free day. I would have found ways to handle the pressure.
Until you finish the tour.
Right, until you're done. Until you're done. You just get through work until you're done. And to me, this just looks like the decay of stoicism, which used to be something that America really cared about. Not so much anymore. And it just cheap, plastic, fake, thin, see-through nonsense.
Is it supposed to make us feel bad for being like, maybe you should tough it out? Like
it is. It's designed to make you feel bad, like you're talking about. This is a shield. You can't say, well, I don't care about your mental health. Of course we care about your mental health. The fact of the matter is that adults have to do very challenging things, and especially if they're like a parent of a family or the sole breadwinner or whatever. People do extraordinary things when they're required to, but when you give people an easy out all the time, they're not going to become the person they could be, and that's off my soapbox for now.
Well, more than it is to, I guess, place this pressure on the onlookers to not discredit him for having a mental health crisis, it's just to avoid legal liability.
Right.
But what I wanted to point out is just that someone in the position of an entertainer has a lot more flexibility career-wise than the ordinary person. Like you said, going to school, working multiple jobs. Yeah. And it reflects, I think it uses the sympathy of a lot of people who are also directly experiencing this mental health crisis. But then wouldn't that garnering sympathy from them when you're not in nearly the same situation?
Right. So maybe that actually speaks to the empathy of a generation we're building here. Like me, my natural instinct is to be like, I can't just take a day off, deal with it.
Right.
Like, if the new generation is also dealing with their own mental health struggles, and they identify that even though this person is not hurting, but making it harder for other people who work for him to live, but they still have empathy for what he's going through, I guess that's a commendable thing.
To me, this just reads like some of the Me Too stuff where these women who made the choice, they made a certain choice, they lived with that choice for like 30 years, and then they decided to come out and be like, oh my gosh, me too. And you're like, no, you're taking away from actual victims. Yeah. I feel like Sam is in a very real way kind of taking away from people who actually have serious mental health struggles.
Also, it could be fair to point out that I have this article here of like all these various artists who took time off. You're not seeing any no names on here. These are people that can afford to take that time off.
Justin Bieber, Shawn Mendes. These are people who, if they so pleased, would not have to work another day in their entire lives, and their generations after them would be set.
The mid-level rock band only makes money when they're on the road.
Yeah, like all that remains. Like they're out there working hard every day. They have a great time, but they put in the work. These are all younger people. Like we got Lady Gaga, we got Solange Knowles, got Zayn Malik, all of these big names that probably employ hundreds, if not thousands of people.
At least hundreds for each one of them.
I will say they'd better be paying their employees while they're out.
That would be interesting to find out. Are those people?
I'm very curious now.
I would bet no.
I bet there's scorching articles about them if they don't.
No, I bet you they don't.
There
I bet you the
should be.
No, the industry cover would be on their side, not on the side of the journeyman employees. I would guess that that most of those people are paid on contract or are on what would you call it? Not contract work, but on
freelance.
They'd be freelance employees.
And I'm sure they all sign agreements saying they would never talk about their employer at all.
You get paid by the dates you work, not by other means.
Yeah.
So they would have to only I'm counting on working these dates in this month, and that day gets canceled. Now they might have things in their contract that get them like half of that paid out.
Right. It could be like a different rate they get paid, but they should still get paid. I do think that's wildly unfair, and it's so irresponsible of these young people. I think this is a classic example of no one has ever required things of them, so now they're letting other people for whom they are responsible down.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you think that this is one of those things that would go away if you didn't have the money to just say you don't have? Like, it's kind of like the idea that your circumstances dictate your life, right? So
that was why I powered through.
Yeah,
I didn't have a choice.
Right.
So that's why you work every single day, because you don't have a choice either. It's
exactly.
Great.
So,
I mean, your job's pretty great.
I just like that mental health is
Yeah.
being framed as the cause of the little guy when, honestly, these days, I don't know what the solution would be, but taking care of your mental health to this degree is a luxury, not a right.
Not
like
afforded to
it's a
most.
privilege afforded to the people like, well-established artists, Justin Bieber being one of them.
You want to talk about privilege?
Shawn Mendes being one of them.
This is
This is privilege, yeah.
It actually is, yeah.
I don't want to say that like what they do is easy. It's
not.
It's
absolutely not.
It's not. But also like, don't think you're an exception, right?
Yep.
There are ordinary people with ordinary jobs going through the same level of turmoil and facing the same pressure, even though they don't have to be viewed while doing what they do.
We're also not talking. We haven't even mentioned like the fans who bought tickets and then they have to get reimbursements.
Right, you're
and
letting
that
everyone
happened
down.
so much during COVID. So many tours got canceled, even through 2021. I think even in this year, people have to, change their own work schedules to support these artists and then are left hanging.
Mm-hmm.
So it says, still taking some time inevitably means that the show will be canceled. The 28-year-old explaining, as a result, I'm sadly going to have to take some time off the road. We are canceling our 3 remaining headlining shows in the U.S. and pulling out of the shows with Florence and the Machine, as well as the Life is Beautiful Festival. I'm also especially sorry to everyone who's been waiting for news on the rescheduled UK tour, UK record store dates, but the decision has been taken to cancel these shows. Hopefully we can work something out for those ticket holders. You'll hear from us soon so I can come back stronger. Well, work something out sounds like there isn't even like a set plan
They don't
in place
even know.
on how they pay them. Like
It
how
seems
they reimburse.
impulsive.
Yes.
This is so disorganized. At least there are only 3 days left.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
minimal.
At least he was also only going to be part of
a festival. That was the
right.
other thing. But also
It helps a little.
I guess the other question I have is like, does this speak to like, is what for years we've watched musicians who lose it and then they develop serious drug problems. They have their own substance
suicide.
issues.
It's terrible.
Is it really is it more of a statement on the way that the music industry is structured, that it's simply not something that a person's actually designed to be able to handle?
Yeah. Well, we know there have been some artists who made it work for them really well.
Plenty of them. Bob Seger, I think, is still touring. He's like a gazillion years old.
Yeah, and these are the older people who overcame real challenges. Like Alice Cooper's been clean for years.
Yep.
Clean and sober, married for like 60 years or something. Insane. Like super role model material. And then do you think that Sam is ever going to be a role model like Alice Cooper, Bob Seger?
Well, I mean, that's a pretty big, like, I mean, becoming like Alice Cooper's like saying
That's
like,
true. That's
are you gonna
fair.
are we gonna be like Joe Rogan?
You
one
just
day?
be like
Hey.
God one
Like,
day,
that's-
honestly.
like, that's a big. We're not worthy.
Yeah, really
We're
not.
not worthy.
That's
we're
fair.
Scum.
That's fair.
No?
But my emphasis
World
is that
reference.
I just realized. Okay, sorry. I just realized that I was
Shit, a
about to make
revelation.
a joke to Dane about like Wayne's World, but it's Dane's World.
Ah,
Oh, genius.
Let's go.
I lost that for
Stroke
a
of
day and a
genius.
half.
I'm so
and
glad it came
realized
back.
It just came back to me. I'm sorry.
It came back.
Continue.
Dane's World.
And-
Dane's World.
Yes, I love it.
It's one of my favorite
Let's
movies
do-
of all
that's a
time.
good movie.
It's a masterpiece. It's a
Dane
masterpiece.
hopefully has
truly,
seen it.
truly.
For sure.
If you haven't seen it, guys, go watch Wayne's World tonight.
It's great.
Tonight.
It's like super upbeat. I would be okay with people watching that instead of IRL. Just kidding. We have a big show tonight. I'm very excited about that. But yeah, I just wanted to say that I feel like Sam Fender is never going to be as much of a role model as some of these other guys.
I mean, to be fair, like, if someone's like, you're not going to be as big as Alice Cooper.
What a
that's like,
threat,
oh,
right?
darn.
Oh, no,
Like-
yeah,
Like,
that's
I'll
crazy.
shoot for somewhere down just in the middle between Alice Cooper and nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
So I think it speaks to whether the industry itself is supposed to, if one person is supposed to shoulder all that responsibility while doing something live all the time. Like,
Yeah.
that's not easy.
I know.
And as like I said, as generations are raised, raised, and we're raised differently and with more and with less grit. I
Right.
guess.
Yes, 100%. I do want to say, I remembered what I was going to say. I feel like people like Alice Cooper and Bob Seger have certainly talked about and or written about how they made it work for them.
Mm-hmm.
And if Bob Seger is, as you say, still touring,
I think he is.
that's super cool. First of all, he's figured out a way to make it work, even with a crazy music industry.
Because he's like a rock.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Great work. Good work, Brett.
Thank you.
Very proud of you.
Thank you.
The blonde is really helping your brain there.
That's
That's what's really
well,
going on.
I heard that when you have more fun, things come to you more naturally.
Are you having more fun,
so,
Brett?
well, not today, but I am on the show. But today has been a doozy. So
I hear that.
but
some
we're here
people
with
like
here
blondes.
with like I'm here with you guys and with the
Yeah.
people watching, and that's the best thing ever.
Yeah,
so.
it's awesome.
The
I love
next
it.
step, I think, is to make all of our guests go blonde.
Oh, let's go.
That's never gonna happen for me. Just saying.
It's a phenomenon.
We can do like washout dye, like the stuff that comes out.
Yeah, I
Right.
might. Well, it's hard to do with blonde. I think.
Is it?
So
Yeah,
light.
you can't really bleach your hair for 15 minutes.
Well, not with that attitude. You
we need
can't.
like a green screen thing.
All right.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.